Welcome. My name is Anthony Patch, and this is another edition of Pulse. Today is Monday, July 22nd, 2024. Today's focus is on the Middle East, and there is, of course, a lot going on there. This will be a very brief update. The Houthis, who have been the recipients of a bombing campaign on the part of the IDF, their principal oil port was destroyed yesterday. This was Israel's response to the Houthis launching a drone, an explosives-equipped drone, into Tel Aviv, striking a multi-story building a block from the U.S. Embassy, which, in my estimation, was the real target, the U.S. Embassy. Nonetheless, there was one death and, I believe, 10 injured in that strike. Since these two events have occurred, the Houthis today have, in the open, in the media, have declared all-out war against Israel. To put this in some perspective, in our private live streams and also in previous editions of this program, Pulse, I have indicated that there would be a series of dominoes that would fall nearly concurrently, and those dominoes are beginning to fall as we speak. Therefore, the necessity for this broadcast today. Not trying to stir up any drama here, I'm just reporting the facts as I'm seeing them, receiving them, and passing on to you. But a declaration of all-out war by the spokesperson for the Houthis and indicating that there are no red lines to be crossed. There's nothing further that need occur to trigger an all-out war against Israel from Yemen on the part of the Houthis. And as you can well appreciate, the Houthis are directly supported militarily, financially, etc., by Iran, the state of Iran, and also because of the mutual defense pact between Russia and Iran. Russia is also involved and has been supplying armaments, drones, and missiles through Iran to Yemen, to the Houthis that are dominating Yemen. Therefore, the dominoes are falling. Things are escalating very quickly. We can expect quite a few more strikes by the Houthis against Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel. And you'll recall also that the Houthis for months now in the Red Sea have been striking cargo ships, container ships, oil tankers, and the like that have, in the estimation of the Houthis, have been supporting Israel, and therefore Israel's strikes against Hamas in Gaza. The Houthis have made it clear over the past several months that Israel needs to stop its military activities with regard to Hamas in Gaza. And until those military activities on the part of the Israelis ceases, the Houthis will continue to strike civilian cargo ships in the Red Sea, and that is escalating as well. They are stepping up strikes, just been 2 in the last couple of days that have been hit in the Red Sea. Now, for their part, Hamas has now stated that they are joining with Hezbollah. Houthis are already in, if you want to think of it in terms of political support, the Houthis have been in political support of Hamas and what they've been doing in Gaza. Certainly, the Houthis are a proxy of Iran, as is Hamas, and are Hezbollah, as so is, if you will, Hezbollah. Hamas has said that they are joining with Hezbollah in the latest strikes, just yesterday and today, by Hezbollah from Lebanon into northern areas, northern territories of Israel, and in particular today the Golan Heights. Hezbollah has been launching drones and missiles Hamas, for their part, whatever they're capable of lending, they're lending at least political support to the activities of Hezbollah. Hamas has been severely decimated by the IDF, so there isn't a lot they can do on a military front, but certainly the Hezbollah is taking that as a rallying cry, if you will, from Hamas. So we have the Houthis to the south, Hamas in Gaza, and to the north of Israel, and in the northern territories, we have Hezbollah that is occupying and has displaced some 70 to 80,000 Israelis months ago from their homes, from their settlements in the northern areas of Israel. What I have shared with you in the past in a broader context is that Netanyahu finds himself in a no-win situation, and so too the IDF. He is under a great deal of pressure to gain the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza, tremendous pressure by the displaced settlers from the north who are being housed in hotels and other temporary housing facilities in the mid-portion of Israel. They want to return to the north, so they're pressuring Netanyahu. Obviously, there is a lot of economic pressure on Netanyahu and the IDF at large to stop the conflicts, be they Gaza or otherwise, because of the drain on the economy. This is largely a reserve military force made up of civilians, and these civilians are not able to participate in the economy. The cost of the battles, the military operations themselves are a drain on the economic status of Israel. Israel is extremely dependent upon support from the United States, and I will address that in just a few more moments. Therefore, that on, let's say, the political economic front, the pressure on Netanyahu to be decisive, to either end the conflicts or bring them militarily to a quick conclusion, again, are the dominoes that are really simultaneously falling at the same time. We find the existential threat from a military perspective, the existential threat against Israel, the survival of Israel. And again, I'm not being partisan, I'm simply sharing perspectives here of what's going on. The IDF understands that they have been severely depleted because of their activities in Gaza. Iran has made it clear for 50 years now that they want to wipe Israel off the map. Thus, Iran and its proxies are an existential threat to the survival of the state of Israel. Increasing the pressure are the activities now of this open declaration of war on the part of the Houthis from the south, and now Hezbollah increasing today their military strikes with drones and missiles and rockets into Israel. And having stated some 4 weeks ago, the leadership of Hezbollah, that they can reach anywhere in Israel with their weapons. They have over 5,000 drones, unguided missiles, as well as guided precision missiles that they can blanket, in their use of the word, they can blanket Israel with these weapons. Understanding the state of the IDF right now, with respect to the strength of Hezbollah, understanding that Hezbollah is backed up by Iran and therefore Russia, Hezbollah is in a much better military posture to win in an all-out war should it occur with Israel. It appears to me, just in my own opinion, that now that we have the open declaration by these three parties, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, open declaration that they are escalating against Israel, this puts additional pressure on Netanyahu to make a decision, a military decision. This coincides, and the timing is interesting, this coincides with the visit on the part of Netanyahu in the United States to speak before Congress on the 24th, Wednesday. That will be in 2 days from today's broadcast, the 24th of July. This will be the fourth time that Netanyahu has addressed a joint session of Congress here in the United States. He is there to demonstrate and to declare to the world and to the enemies of Israel the commitment of the United States, the strength of the United States to back up Netanyahu, to back up Israel, to back up the IDF in what is acknowledged to be the coming war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, associated with Lebanon, of course, are the Syrian forces, which are also supported by Iran. And to make matters worse, Turkey to the north, Egypt to the south, and the Iraqis and the Iranians have made it very clear, and I'm saying the political leaders have made it very clear that they are enemies of Israel, Turkey in particular. Egypt is no ally of Israel, and they don't want all of the refugees, so to speak, the Palestinians, coming out of Gaza to become their problem in Egypt itself. Turkey and Egypt, Iran and Iraq, Iraq and Syria and Lebanon all want a two-state solution. And if not a two-state, then they understand that there will be continued conflict, continued war. The West Bank, there are some, I think, 1.4 million Palestinians in the West Bank of Israel. They do want a Palestinian state, but they also understand the economic realities, the humanitarian realities of the Palestinians that formerly occupied Gaza, being displaced into the West Bank, that is untenable. It's just logically speaking and logistically speaking not feasible. That's kind of on the back burner, but I wanted to share that with you. What's on the front burner literally is military conflict. I've shared this in our private live streams. I'll be circumspect in what I'm saying here due to community guidelines and standards here on YouTube. But the existential threat that Hezbollah especially poses to the continued existence of the State of Israel is such that Israel, with its depleted IDF and depleted economy, is totally dependent upon the United States. And this is why Netanyahu, again, is addressing Congress, is to solidify, to reconfirm to the world that the economic and military support of the United States is unwavering. This is his position. I'm not speaking for myself or for the U.S. But even with the support of the United States, Hezbollah is a formidable foe against the United States forces. We're already so committed to Ukraine, and we're trying to protect our interests in the South China Sea, Taiwan in particular. The United States is spread out pretty thin right now. And to take on another full-blown war, this time in the Middle East, is not all that practical for the United States. They are in a position where we do have an aircraft carrier task force in the Mediterranean that is positioned, but they have limited abilities, limited aircraft, and certainly not an amphibious force that can land on the shores of Lebanon. And we're not talking about battle cruisers and destroyers and battleships and World War II types of shelling of Lebanon. That cannot be accomplished. Pretty much all the United States can do is offer air support, and even that is limited due to the missiles that Hezbollah possesses. I won't state it here, again, because of community guidelines. In our private live streams, I have stated what I consider to be the only option on the part of the IDF, the only option that Netanyahu can exercise. Should he decide to engage in full-scale open warfare against Hezbollah, he really only has one choice of weapon system against Hezbollah. And I'm not at liberty to go beyond that. Something rather odd regarding this coming address by Netanyahu to the joint session of Congress. You may or may not be aware that there are several Democrats that have stated that they are going to boycott Netanyahu's appearance. Now, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he has already warned the Democrats and anyone else that might choose to go beyond merely being absent from the session, but should they choose to attend and attempt to disrupt Netanyahu's address, he has already warned them, already made it clear that he will have present additional security in the form of sergeant of arms. There's usually one sergeant of arms. He has stated that he will have additional sergeants of arms in attendance. And I would like to read just this one paragraph for you. Listen, we're going to have extra sergeants at arms on the floor. And if anybody gets out of hand, the Speaker of the House will bang the gavel. We're going to arrest people if we have to do it, he continued. We're going to get the message out. In my memory, I don't know of any other instance where a foreign dignitary or anyone else addressing Congress has been threatened with arrest. He has the power to do that. Whether they're going to be prosecuted or not is something else, but at least being taken into custody by the sergeants of arms and removed from the hearing, from the hall, I think is unprecedented. Maybe it occurred in the earlier days of the United States, but not in so-called modern history that I can recall. So this is very contentious, but we need to also appreciate in the background that the Israeli lobbying organization known as AIPAC, over 20 to 30 years now, perhaps even longer, has funded election campaigns and re-election campaigns of most every member of Congress. those that are sitting there are financially supported, let me put it that way, financially supported by Israel. So even if they privately don't agree with the policies of Israel right now, the actions of policy, especially with regards to Gaza, they're going to hold their peace. And yet there are those, it's being said the Democrats, doesn't really matter, that perhaps seek to disrupt, to protest Netanyahu's address to Congress, are being threatened with arrest, to be silenced. We have the First Amendment, freedom of speech in this country. This is why I find this to be probably unprecedented. It sticks out for me, at least, in looking at the day's events. Now, I want to finish up with the IT outage that the world has been experiencing. I've elaborated on this in our live streams, but I want to briefly just share a thought today. The effects of this IT outage, which was a cybersecurity program update that went awry and is specific to the Microsoft operating system, we still have people in airports that are waiting for flights. We still have major disruptions in markets all around the world. I consider this to be a precursor to a larger event that precipitates the economic reset. The World Economic Forum, as we've been reporting since June and July of 2020, has made it very clear that the world needs to undergo a financial and economic reset, that all debts will be forgiven, and what people don't understand is they will also lose all their assets because the global economy is a debt-based economy. I think this was a demonstration to the world, demonstrating and priming, giving a hint to people, but demonstrating how fragile the internet is. I think there has been a shared perception that there is redundancy and resiliency and a robustness that is built into the global internet, that if one area should suffer an outage, workarounds can be accomplished to maintain the entire global internet. This outage has demonstrated how fragile the internet is, and that something as small as a few lines of code can result in such a massive impact. I think this is priming people to the notion, getting them to understand that the internet is prone to collapse. This is setting people up to not only talk about it, but now to expect the internet to collapse. And I believe that is very soon. I think before the November 5th election. I think the internet on a global basis in its entirety, all at once, is going to experience what we have said for many years now, what we call the flipping of the switch, flipping the internet to the off position. And then, once the financial systems have all gone to zero, debts and assets have all been zeroed out, then the internet will be brought back, the flipping of the switch to the on position. And in addition to Internet 3.0, the semantic web that will now go live, we will be experiencing the increase in transmission power of 5, 6, and 7G systems. Again, I'm not at liberty to talk about, but I'll give you the label of the group of people that will be most affected by 5, 6, and 7G full power transmissions, and we call this group of people Homo novus. This means the new man. If you'd like to hear more about the subjects and my greater depth of explanation on these subjects that I'm not at liberty to expound upon here, please go to anthonypatch.com. Go to the subscribe tab at the top of the homepage and subscribe. This is a paywall. We have our own private live streams. We have over 850 two-hour live streams. My wife, Kathleen, and myself, we produce 3 live streams a week. Each live stream is 2 hours in duration, and we've now archived over 850 of these 2-hour live streams. We also have a private chat room. What we have created here is a safe learning environment where we are free from censorship. There is open discussion through our chat platform, and we are able to have a free exchange of information because many of the subscribers are excellent researchers in their own right, and they contribute to this group of subscribers. It's not a formal organization. We don't have a name for it. It's just a group of people that are researching science, economics, politics, really across the board, and sharing the information that they gather and help educate one another. Kathleen and I, we often say we are the researchers and reporters, but we also function as the gatherers, the receivers of this information, and facilitate the dissemination of that. We also, since June of 2017, Kathleen and I have been publishing a monthly science magazine entitled Entangled Magazine. This comes from quantum entanglement. And again, we cover really the same subjects: science, biology in particular, but quantum mechanics, particle physics. We talk about CERN. We look at economics. We look at the derivatives. We look at the bonds. We look at the markets. And we also look at what is occurring in the geopolitical arena, such as what we're sharing here. So if that is of interest, I invite you to join us at anthonypatch.com. As events unfold, I will, if I'm able, to continue to provide these pulse videos. I try to keep them to 30 minutes per broadcast. It appears that we will be doing this pretty much on a daily basis, again, depending on the events geopolitically that are taking place. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in our subscription classroom environment.